dope ass poster.
Right? No, go to the director. Look at some of his other posters. They all look exactly the same.
Jonas Åkerlund.
They're so. I'm like, this is.
Yeah, it's a very. So what is he?
Swedish.
Stockholm,
Yep,
Sweden.
exactly.
That's his sweet. Look at this guy.
Like,
He
look
looks
at him.
like
Look at him.
he looks like a black metal god.
Right? Yo, wait, go. He actually looks like. Wait, is that him in the movie? Like
Lords of
Chaos?
Chaos.
Like,
I don't know.
He
Yeah.
looks like Crow come to life.
I'm Scott,
I'm Ben.
I'm Matt.
and this is a review on today's episode, which is episode 58. I don't know. Who cares? We're reviewing Polar. Polar is a Netflix movie starring Mads Mikkelsen, who stars as John Wick. Watch as John Wick Mads Mikkelsen kills lots of people in really cool ways. Vanessa Hudgens is in the movie. Ben, Matt, what did you think about Polar?
I'll let you take it away, Ben. Let's start with you.
So Polar like kind of is sort of tonally for me bipolar in a way. Where
Ben's been waiting to tell this joke the entire movie, despite the fact that the movie is consistently the same tone the entire time.
there,
It goes
It's-
very.
it's
there
that-
are some pretty radical jumps.
It
like
stays
where
within that.
It's pretty dissonant.
I
for a
agree.
bit.
Dude, from Vanessa's
stretch
story
there.
to the assassin story. The assassin story was very colorful.
Well, yeah. Okay. So what we've got here is a very paint by numbers in the sense of like tonally it's very John Wick. It's like the John Wick tone of like it's serious until it's goofy. John Wick does the same stuff where it's like it's him crying over a dead dog in the rain and then all of a sudden it'll cut to like some goofy shit. Now, granted,
To him buying guns with fucking
Gold coins.
like gold coins.
Yeah.
From some, like,
yeah,
you
so
know.
let's not forget what we're comparing this to. But I will admit that yes, this is a lot more Smoking Aces,
I mean-
which we've talked about a lot during the
Yes.
movie. This feels like one of those kind of early 2000s Tarantino ripoffs, like
Yeah.
one of
Okay,
those
yeah, definitely.
Boondock Saints a little
Boondock,
bit.
Exactly.
Boondock Saints, Smoking Aces. It's definitely got that like sloppy feeling to it, where it's
Sloppy,
like
like-
sloppy, over the top, stylized.
Yeah.
The movie starts off with like a lot of like introducing characters with like flashy titles, which I don't
Like
personally
Suicide
like.
Squad.
Yeah, like
It's
yeah,
like, we can't forget that it starts off with the best character in the movie.
Johnny Knoxville.
We cannot forget. What
Yeah.
a great A character right
yeah.
there.
We start off the movie with Johnny Knoxville, who gets assassinated by our first group of assassins that are kind of hunting Mads Mikkelsen. So it's kind of a very John Wick setup, I guess, where it's like Mads Mikkelsen retired and then the guy he worked for doesn't want to pay his pension.
Exactly.
And so he sends out assassins to kill
Which
him.
is also kind of really like Smoking Aces, because isn't that the whole thing where they go after Jeremy Piven?
They're sending a bunch of assassins after Jeremy Piven. I don't remember why. There's like a huge price on him for some dumb reason.
Yeah,
And
there
once
always is a
again,
dumb reason.
you've got a similar element in that movie where you constantly have this like really melodramatic moments of Jeremy Piven like feeling sorry for himself, juxtaposed with crazy balls to the walls
ridiculousness.
assassins.
Exactly. Assassins coming, or my favorite part of the scene, an assassin from a helicopter shooting a 50K into the
Yes.
Vegas hotel, literally splitting people apart.
Right. But, and, the reason I wouldn't say this movie is bipolar, as you call it, as you were waiting to call it, is that those moments of calmness with Vanessa Hudgens are there to release. You need a release from the craziness because this movie goes so crazy. Like the level of violence in this movie at times is absolutely
Ridiculous.
sickening. And you need a few minutes to like decompress to get ready for the next moment.
But the only
Like,
thing with it is, like, maybe that's what they were going with, like, Poles, because it's so ridiculous with the stylized action and violence.
Well,
and
it's
then
called-
it goes to the lows of the
It
just...
strips like two bare.
Exactly.
It's called
Like,
Polar.
there's no middle. It just
Yeah.
goes from, like...
It's very extreme.
Yeah, it's extreme to extreme. It's like
Yeah.
polar top, or like North Pole, South Pole.
Because like
Well-
movies like Bone Tomahawk or like John Wick lean into it more.
Exactly.
Or Brawl in Cell Block 99 sort of like are escalating
Because-
toward it, and then there's like these explosions.
Like especially with
where-
John Wick, even though there's not the
But then you complained halfway through the movie that it wasn't being crazy the whole time, and it was building to being
Yeah.
crazier.
But
Like
see,
it was
I don't
grounded
think there was
and
a
it got
build.
built.
It literally goes from 1 to 10, then back to 1
Yeah.
to 10. Like there's no like 1, 2.
I wouldn't call
like-
And then the last, like-
down moments one. They're awkward and weird also in their own way.
I mean, other than the school scene, which
the school scene rules. Okay.
that
please
rule.
explain that. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's back up a little bit. So basically, yeah, what happens is you have escalating levels of assassins. So the first team of assassins that come out to get Mads Mikkelsen get instantly dispatched. Then he sends the quote-unquote A squad, which is the assassins we see kill Johnny Knoxville in the
Exactly.
beginning. He has a little bit more trouble with them, but he still manages to dispatch them pretty easily in a really dope scene when he's fucking one of the assassins in a very graphic, full-on, like, you see a lot of skin
You
scene.
see everything.
Yeah, it's like full-on porn going on here with Mads Mikkelsen fucking one of these assassins. And her go-to signal that it's time to go is, it's blow time! And she starts blowing him, and he whips her up in the air right before he gets shot and commences to bare ass nude beat down all these motherfuckers, and it is dope. Like, that's a badass scene, right?
So that is the one thing that I do. The movie does have very good scenes. Like that's a very good scene. We'll explain later. There's this hallway scene that's absolutely amazing when
Yeah.
he's trying
Oh,
to save Vanessa Hudgens. That's also a very good scene. But that's all. This movie is 2 hours of like 15 minutes of good scenes, like sprinkled into the movie.
Well, see, I don't know. I wouldn't agree with that because
Not 15
was-
minutes like apart. Scene like 15 minutes as a whole.
like the movie, those scenes are obviously the most entertaining, but I
Mhm.
was still like getting intrinsic value out of just the scenes with those characters. I wanted to see the character development between Vanessa Hudgens and Mads Mikkelsen, and there was actually a story they were building to in the background. Now, I will say, I think it was a little eye-rolly what the conclusion was with that, but at least they were building to something. They set it up in the beginning.
True.
And they were kind of trying to. There was this nice connection that they had that actually made sense at
It
the
was.
end. It wasn't a reach, and it was a payoff.
That was
to what we kept asking, what was going on? Where they kept flashing back to something, and we found out.
And honestly, I actually like that payoff. Like, so the character of Vanessa Hudgens, she's his neighbor. They eventually, she becomes basically his romantic interest in the movie.
Sort of, yeah.
Well,
You
I mean-
think that, and it's kind of like that, or kind of like a father-daughter thing a little
Yeah.
bit too.
You thought? Oh,
I thought
I couldn't
Oh,
tell. I
okay,
thought it
I
was a
got
little.
kind of like
okay.
Liam Neeson and his daughter in Taken.
okay,
vibes.
yeah, I see
Yeah.
that. I see that. That actually does make more sense when he was like. So I saw more of him trying to get with her, but no, it makes more sense of he was a father figure in her life.
Yeah.
Ooh, and that's kind of.
And he was even holding on to
like,
guilt. Yeah, so I
He
think
also he killed her father.
right. So I mean, like
Kinda
that's
fucked up.
So that's why I think that you need those moments in the movie, and it's like this isn't just a pure action movie. Like they are trying to like set up some other stuff.
So
in the
that is
background.
okay, but the problem that I have with it when they're setting those up, so that's like a small like 15-minute scene. Like let's just, for example, the scene where he's trying to teach her to shoot. That's like a small like 15-minute scene. Then it cuts to those crazy assassins choking out some like fat bastard in a goddamn like trailer park.
The awkward part of this movie is the kind of middle of the first act and beginning first half of the second act, where there's this weird bit where the assassins are trying to track him, and they'll just randomly cut to them.
And
This is the stuff that you guys, I think, have more of an issue with than honestly most of the movie, which I think we all agree is pretty decent, pretty good. But like these moments early on are sprinkled in and kind of distract you, where there's these bits that are completely random and don't have anything to do with anything.
Exactly.
Where it'll just show the assassins just doing shit, and it is actually building to something, but it's unnecessary. They could just show up.
And I think
You know what I mean? You don't need to build them up as much as the movie. Like, the movie takes too much time to focus on how the rival assassins track Mads Mikkelsen. And it's only in the beginning of the movie. Like, once you get past those assassins, the movie really picks up.
It does.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't stop But that's not to say that the movie is not good up until that point.
See, I don't know. See, maybe I have not as much of problem with the movie as I do with the directing, and now knowing that he was a music, because there's so many quick cuts.
Awkward.
There's like, he'll have a 5-minute scene, then quick cut to something completely different, like another like 15 minutes quick cut to something completely different.
One of our favorite scenes, there's a scene where
so there's no like flow for me.
He's speaking with Vanessa Hudgens, and she recommends that he teaches at school for no reason. Like, this is like, there's no reason for her to suggest that. And then he just goes and does it, and he's like showing the kids pictures of like dead bodies and shit. And it's like, it's the most deadpan, like awkward, dry humor ever.
Showing the kids like
it's
how to
so good,
slice
though.
up a body, but don't stab.
And then like he goes out and he's like, I passed the knife around. I think they liked it. And then he kind of looks at Vanessa Hudgens. He's like, I think you like the knife too. It's like, I got you something. And like he holds out a present, and I'm like, it's a gun, jokingly. And it was a gun.
We all think it's a knife because he's like, yeah, you like knives. And he's like, I got you something, but it's a gun.
Tonally, for me, this was a lot more like what Cold Pursuit was going for. This felt like exactly what we wanted out of Cold Pursuit, and it's similar. I don't know what region that director was from, but it's also a similar.
Like, that was Norway.
The first Cold Pursuit, it's like Norse or Swedish. As well.
So you can tell that there's like there's themes going on between these two movies, and like the way that it's directed. Both of these movies is similarly awkward. There's like a little bit of a gap. Translation, you know what I mean? And a lot of the dialogue is a little weird and stilted, and it's also based on a graphic novel, so you've got that flowing into it. So there's a lot of, but knowing it's based on a graphic novel, I was thinking about Sin City a lot. There's a lot of very hyper stylized moments with the wardrobe and like the violence, and it was there was a lot going for this movie, and it's like this is a Netflix original thing, so it's like I think you got to give it a little bit of slack just based on that for budget wise.
See,
having this all-star all-star cast.
Cast.
Richard Dreyfuss makes a cameo in this movie. Mads Mikkelsen, Vanessa Hudgens. It's a good cast. It's got good effects. Like, I don't know. There's a lot going for this.
See, I think I'm the one different.
I got Flashes of Wanted, too.
True, yeah, you were saying that.
Graphic novel, assassin movie, not to cut you off. It's just like, it's a big gobbledygook of influences going on here, for sure. And for the most part, it plays on it pretty well.
We were talking about that before. I feel like this movie picks from a lot of great action movies. Like, we were talking John Wick. I mean, I can't say Smoking Aces is a great action movie, but I mean...
Well, I would put Smoking Aces in the same exact category of being a great mediocre movie.
Yeah.
Well, where it's like, this isn't, like, there's enough flaws in both these movies that, like, people could pick it apart, like we've been kind of doing, but it's like, for me... it succeeds a lot more than it fails.
No, wait. Now, did you like this more than Cold Pursuit?
Oh, hell yeah. Cold Pursuit sucks.
See, I like Cold Pursuit more than this.
Oh, dude. Cold Pursuit was rough.
But see, I didn't like... I mean, I didn't really like either of them. But I think I liked... Like, this movie, like, the first 45 minutes took so long for me.
See, I never really had pacing issues. I thought there was some awkward bits, like I mentioned, but I never thought that it got bogged down completely by that.
Because, like, what was the A story and what was the B story?
The A story was him trying to just live his life.
Like him with Vanessa, and the B story is the assassin.
The A story is the assassins trying to kill him. The B story would be him trying to live his life. Yeah, like that's kind of the secondary thing, but it's like... him trying to survive is what's getting in the way of his goal.
And so I agree with that, but I feel like in the movie they were giving more showtime to the B story. And so that's where I'm kind of getting a problem, especially in the later first half to the whole middle. Like, that's a lot of the B story.
I don't know. I thought he was still killing people pretty frequently throughout the beginning.
But, like, he didn't kill that many people, like, other than the people in Belarus. And then, like, he started killing, like, the assassins coming after him. But, like, until, like, probably the hour mark, like, it was a lot of the other assassins killing people. But I liked his story more.
I was okay with all of it. Like, I didn't have an issue with the amount of death. I thought there was, frankly, like I said, there's an excessive amount of murder. And you guys here at This Is a Review know that I love murder. So the fact that I'm like, ooh, this is, like, way... ridiculous.
Please
It's
quote him
like,
on that. Scott loves murder.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, you got the target where he kind of figures out what's going on, and then you kind of have like there's a lot of build up going on. But yeah, it's there is definitely this awkward moments where they're kind of lost at what's going on. Now, also we have to admit we were talking for like the first like 20 minutes of the movie.
Very true. Very true.
There was also a gap in like disconnect of our viewing of the movie. But no, it's definitely there. But yeah, I think we're ready for final thoughts.
Yeah.
I think we've covered this movie. So Ben, final thoughts. What do you think?
I thought once we got past some of the clunkiness, that there's a lot more clunkiness in the first half than the back half. I thought it picked up significantly about midway through Act 2, and I was really down for like the rest of the movie, even the torture scene, because I think like it made
we didn't even talk about that,
dude. It's like like we were saying, Passion of the Christ, and I have to agree. Like,
I didn't even look at the first part.
It's pretty masochistic, like.
It's rough.
Nonetheless, it's still like it felt earned, and it felt like you were like hardening him up even more, like to make him feel just like a complete killing machine. Yeah, like we said, kind of a blender of a lot of different influences, but for the most part, like kind of it's pretty neat. Mads Mikkelsen's fucking awesome, kicks ass. But yeah, just some I think Cold Pursuit-esque like gaps in regional translation from the more the northern Swedish, Norwegian, European, Scandinavian part to America. They seem to just have a different brand of humor that doesn't quite click. But still probably worth a watch, I would say. It's on Netflix.
It's free.
It's definitely tailored toward a certain type of film fan. Like I could see a lot of people like hating this, but if you like genre cinema or action cinema or Mads Mikkelsen fan, you could probably get behind this. I'd give it a solid 6 oozing bullet holes out of 10.
All right, Matt, what do you think? Final thoughts.
All right, so for like the story, honestly, I didn't mind the story. Like, I actually kind of liked the story. I think the directing kind of took me out of it a little. Like, honestly, a lot of the quick cuts. We didn't even mention about the 4 close-up boner shots at the beginning of the movie.
Of Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, Johnny Knoxville. So there were a lot of unique things. Also, like, some of the dialogue was funny. Like, he had a dog that he shot. And then he just tells, he's like, oh yeah, I had a dog. You know, it's just like, it wasn't bad. I would probably give it probably a solid 5 Vanessa Hudgens bangs of the movie.
Nice. Yeah. I definitely think, obviously I like this the most of all 3 of us. I don't think that's a surprise. This is the kind of movie that's tailor-made for psychos like me that just love to see ridiculous bloodshed and people getting murdered in weird ways. And it's filled with that sort of stuff. It's filled with really weird, like the humor did work for me more often than it didn't. And like it had this weird, awkward, dark, like you said, anti-humor, but it just like cracked me up throughout a lot of this. Great action scenes. Definitely could have been a lot more streamlined. I think this was like hour 40 would have been perfect. And it could have fixed some of the problems with the first 2 acts where it was a little awkward. But yeah, you guys totally nailed it once you get to that final stretch where he's unleashed and is just letting his rage know no bounds. The movie is just like edge of your seat. Amazing, kick-ass. Like I thought the back half of this movie is like better than John Wick by a large margin, but like unfortunately like John Wick starts strong and ends strong, whereas this only kind of blows its wad towards the end. But you still get some great action sprinkled throughout, so I have to give Polar 7.5 nip slips out of 10, and I do not mean that in the TMZ way. This is taking nip slips to a whole new level. Let me just say, this is
Nips snips.
nip snips. Yeah,
this is more like it.
Yeah,
Nips,
this is
nips.
that torture scene was brutal.
Yeah, fucking rough.
Fucking.
But hey, I gotta say, like, you know, in conclusion, like, it's just great to see Netflix making movies like this that are like, I mean, this we've seen some Netflix movies that I think we've kind of been like, you know, this was good for Netflix, or even like something like Replicas, where we said this would have been a lot better had we seen it on Netflix. We would have given a little bit more credit.
Bright.
That one sucks. Fuck Bright. We'll maybe do a retrospective review of that someday, because I would like to get my feelings out about Bright.
So rip the shit out of it.
You know, I gotta say, Polar, I could have seen this movie in the theaters. I could imagine watching this in a movie theater and thinking, like, this felt like a full-scale movie.
Oh, yeah,
like, flaws or not, like, it felt like it belonged in a movie theater.
Like, I feel like I would have actually liked it more in a movie theater because of how stylized it was. The effects would have been just, I don't know, bigger.
Absolutely.
You know what?
So
even 10 years ago, it would have been released in a theater.
Oh, it would have been.
But
Well, Smoking Aces. This felt like it was like
there
lost
was that
from
space,
that era.
but so many of these types of movies have just bombed in theaters. Like, dude, Dread bombed.
And dude,
And Dread is like
Dread is one of the greatest movies
seen
ever
it.
made.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll watch
I've
Dread.
only heard
Alex
good
Garland.
things about it. I've only heard good things about it.
But like that's what's great about Netflix is it seems like it's a new platform for these
Exactly.
middle of the road like stylized genre movies. And you know this is kind of up there with Mandy, kind of a similar movie. And like I'm loving this renaissance of the weird pulp movies again.
And like that's why I love Netflix, because they just get out of the way. They're like, okay, I accept your project. Just do what you gotta do. They're
Here,
not, like,
you want Johnny
meddling.
Knoxville getting shot in the head with a boner while getting blown by a big booty bitch from Colombia?
From Colombia?
You got it.
Do it.
Boom.
The first 3 minutes of the movie. Right? That's why they're making the big bucks.
That's right.
Hell yeah. So yeah, this has been a review with special guest Matt. I don't know what our next review is, so it'll be a surprise. Just don't worry about it. You'll hear it. It'll be revealed to you in due time. But yeah, this has been our review of Polar, and as always, I'm Scott.
I'm Ben.
And I'm TJ.
Thanks for listening.